The NBA playoffs are officially here, and arguably more than ever before, fans of teams across the board feel confidence in their group's ability to make a deep run regardless of their seeding, because the parity level is at an all-time high. It's truly unpredictable how things will go down, but ultimately every group has flaws that can be taken advantage of, and that brings us to today's video. This will actually be a two-part video, where today we will be covering the Eastern Conference teams, and then tomorrow we will finish up with the Western Conference teams, and specifically, we'll be going through every single playoff team, identifying their biggest issue that could end up holding them back from accomplishing their goals this year. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Starting with the number 1 seed Boston Celtics, their biggest issue is their over-reliance on shooting three-pointers. I'll be honest, it was really difficult finding an issue to pick out for this Celtics squad because they're pretty damn good in almost every aspect of the game. They're a top 2 ranked offense and defense, they've got an unbelievable starting lineup that gives them a little bit of everything, their bench players all serve a purpose and stick to their roles well, and they finished with the best record in the league for a reason. The way to beat the Celtics is honestly hoping that they shoot themselves out of the game. The Celtics take the most three-point shots per game this year by a wide margin. For reference, the margin between them and the Mavericks in three-point attempts per game, who, by the way, take the second most threes behind them, is the same margin as the Mavericks and the Jazz, who took the 10th most threes this year. In the playoffs, every shot from the outside is going to be a little more difficult, with defenses going extra hard to contest them, and while the Celtics have been able to live by the three all year, we've seen many examples of teams dying by the three over the years as well. Next up is the 2 seed New York Knicks, and their biggest issue is their lack of shot creation. Jalen Brunson is an elite scoring and shot creating talent who has taken full control of this Knicks squad and led them to new heights, but with Julius Randle's season officially being over due to injury, the Knicks lack consistent creators alongside Brunson. They're a great defensive squad with two-way wings like OG Anunoby and Josh Hart making a ton of impact. They have volume shooters like Miles McBride, Dante DiVincenzo, and Bojan Bogdanovic, but none of them are necessarily players who can succeed at high volume with the ball in their hands, asked to create for themselves. They are great players in the roles that they're in, but when things slow down and tough shots need to be made, Brunson is the only guy they have to really be trusted to make something happen out of nothing. Next up is the 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks, and their biggest issue is their perimeter defense. The Bucks' rise to the top of the East over the last few seasons has been on the backs of their dominant defenses. They were consistently a top 10 and top 5 group on that end of the floor, and they won a title that way, but in order to keep that title window alive, they sacrificed a good bit of defensive production in order to bolster their offense, by way of adding Damian Lillard, and while their offense has definitely improved, the defense has taken a noticeable hit. The Bucks were just the 19th ranked defense this year, which is a steep drop from where they were just last season. Damian Lillard has always been a poor defender capable of being targeted, Malik Beasley wasn't the defensive boost that the team hoped he would be early in the year, and Chris Middleton just is not the same player that he used to be on either end since all of his injuries. Next up is the 4 seed Cleveland Cavaliers, and their biggest issue is their non-shooting frontcourt. The Cavaliers have dealt with a lot of injuries throughout the season, but at full strength, they're a much improved squad from last year's team that flamed out in the first round of the playoffs. The one thing that still looms from last year's team, though, is the fact that their frontcourt duo of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley hold back the offensive capabilities of the team. The Cavaliers have done very well adding more shooting to their rotation to give themselves better floor spacing in general, but they can't maximize that with both Mobley and Allen on the court together at the same time, and the team's offensive numbers do dip statistically when they share the court versus when only one of them is on the court at the time without the other. It's a conundrum because they need to share the floor to dominate defensively like they do, but they're both pretty limited offensively and neither take threes, so it makes the lives of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell tougher. Next is the 5 seed Orlando Magic, and their biggest issue is their half-court offense. On top of the fact that this is a group led by young talent that are all, for the most part, about to experience the playoffs for the first time together, they also struggle in a pretty important aspect of playoff basketball, producing when the game slows down in half-court settings. They have the worst ranked half-court offense per 100 possessions of all 16 teams that made the playoffs this year, which is pretty worrisome because postseason basketball is where defenses level up even more, and pushing the pace works less and less. Paolo Banchero is a star in the making for sure, and Franz Wagner has been a pretty steady number 2 option alongside him, but when you compare them to the best scorers that other teams have, they are significantly disadvantaged, and the role players on this Magic team are more defensive oriented, which could see them struggle to keep up with some high-powered offenses around them. Next is the 6 seed Indiana Pacers, and their biggest issue is their defense. We just discussed how the Magic might struggle to keep up scoring with other highly powered offenses, and are the worst ranked in that regard, so now the Pacers are actually on the opposite end of that spectrum as a highly powered offense that can't get a stop to save their lives. Of the 16 teams that made the playoffs in both conferences, they are the worst ranked defense of the bunch, and things only get marginally better with the addition of Pascal Siakam. They love to play fast, and they get a lot of shots up off the creation of Tyrese Halliburton, but they just have not shown that they can get the necessary stops on a consistent basis in big moments, which is what the playoffs are all about. Next up is the 7 seed Philadelphia 76ers, and their biggest issue is Joel Embiid's knee injury. The unfortunate truth for Sixers fans is that Joel Embiid is still not healthy despite being back on the court. With a fully healthy Joel Embiid, the Sixers were looking like the second best team in the East, but this is a group that will only go as far as he can take them, and if he's not 100% healthy, the odds seem to be that they won't go very far. Tyrese Maxey has made the leap to stardom, but this Sixers team is constructed in a way that relies on Embiid putting up 30 to 35 points a night, so the role players can fill in around him, and if his knee is holding him back from being as aggressive as he would like to be, then things could come crashing down fast. And finally, the last team up is the 8 seed Miami Heat, and their biggest issue is the fact that Jimmy Butler is injured and out for the first round. Not to be one to take the cop-out answer back-to-back, but it's very clear that Jimmy Butler being out is a massive issue for the Miami Heat, who every year for the last 5 years have relied on him leveling up in the postseason in order to outperform all expectations. Last year, Butler averaged 37 points in their first-round series upset over the Milwaukee Bucks, but this year they're facing an even stronger Celtics team in the first round without him, so to be completely honest, they might get taken care of quickly. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think are these teams' biggest weaknesses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.